Would you like to impact a billion lives? Welcome to our show, IIT 2020, Impact Fireside Chat Series. We invite thought leaders and innovators to discuss their approach of the future, especially in post-pandemic world. Today, I have an exceptional guest, Asoke Deysarkar. He's founder of PFP Industries. PFP is a Houston-based multi-billion-dollar organization in oil and gas industry. He holds undergrad from IIT Kharagpur. He's on the board of multiple nonprofits and one of the most celebrated IIT KGP alumni. Asoke, so before I go further, I want to know a little bit about your journey, especially you have done PhD in chemistry. Am I right?
Chemical engineering. All my degrees are in chemical engineering. Okay,
so
better now.
Can you talk a little bit more about your journey so far?
It's actually not that complicated. It's very simple. So I was born and raised in a small mining town in Jharkhand. And then I got into IIT system. And then, in chemical engineering, I graduated in chemical engineering in 71. And then I went to Manchester to get a PhD, and then went to University of Waterloo to do a postdoc, and then came to Houston, and that's it. So came to Houston, we started getting into a job market and did that for many years.
Yeah, in fact, one of the company you were working with, it got acquired by Halliburton, right?
Yeah, so basically the company that used to come called Deysarkar Industries in the oilfield service company, it got bought out by Halliburton. Then I started to work for another oil company, Pennzoil. Then that got acquired by Shell, and then I simply said that maybe it's time that I do something myself. So I was almost 50 years old when I started doing this. Yeah.
Wow.
So I have been doing this for the last 22 years, and it's reasonably well. The oil field is up and down, but what are you going to do?
Hey, we all know the evolution and everything is changing, as we both know. And I look back, I'm in technology for 30 years, and I can see a huge difference in when we started, or when I started in technology to today. It's just remarkable how the world is changing, and we all are evolving every single day. And industry is just one aspect of it.
Yeah. Society is changing dramatically. And from our parents to ourselves to our children, it's a very different thing. It's probably good, but when you accept good, it has to be, you had to adapt yourself, and that is with the pandemic becoming difficult.
So I have an interesting question for you. Okay. The question is, you are one of the few who have witnessed evolution of oil and gas industry. You saw internet and how it has changed our world and its transformational impact on all of us. Even in the remotest part, because of oil and gas, we were able to connect the whole world. Now, with internet, we are able to connect the whole world. What do you really see as the future of technology?
So I think the future of technology has got its advantages and disadvantages. Advantages are, I think, is it has made the world a lot closer to each other, number one. Number two, it has made our life, those of us that can take advantage of the technology, has made them extremely productive. I have to tell you that because of this technology, using this little cell phone, I am all over the place. I have to tell you, I don't carry my laptop.
Wow.
I don't carry my laptop. I got used to it in a domain that my little iPhone can do my job. Very rarely I need something print out and all that. So I go to, wherever my home is, they have a printout, blah, 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 and I take advantage of that. So the advantages of this internet world is huge. In other words, you can spend from a simple money point of view an hour of time and create a wealth that is a lot more than when we were at IIT. I remember in IIT Kharagpur, when we used to make a telephone call to my home, we had to go to the local post office and talk to the manager at the post office. Can I use your phone? And the phone was outside. And you go there and you know what I'm talking about? And then that phone will work and you hope your parents are there at home.
And
Otherwise you won't come.
it
Huh?
was $5 a minute that time or $10 a minute?
I don't know what the time cost was. The cost was irrelevant because it was so inconvenient. And today you can pick up the phone and call anybody you want across the world. And so I think that what we used to do, I think today, if you do a PhD thesis, for example, I think if somebody takes more than 3 months, they're just taking too much time.
I completely agree. Information
So
on your tips.
Yeah, it's on your tips. And do you have an idea or not? Or you want to do some experiments or not? So it took take 3 to 6 months and not 5, 6 years.
Wow.
So we have become extreme efficient. And that is definitely but it was also, the negative part is that it has divided the world with have and have not. And it's not wealth, it's this technology. And I feel sorry for these kids, those who come from a lower class family and have no wealth, what they're going to do. I actually don't know what they're doing in the United States, where I live. I do not understand how somebody without a job, with pandemic being especially around us, how? And how they're handling it. I don't know those families. So it has divided the world, and my fear is down the line, there may be two worlds, not India and United States. In the world is in United States and India, there will be class of people down 10, 15% bottom line. They will never be able to come up. And they're stuck in an extremely difficult situation. So in some way, this pandemic, I have to tell you, there's a positive to the pandemic. Pandemic has forced government to help these people out and to give them a computer. At least in Houston, I see, if you need a computer, I guess you call somebody, or there's a place you go there, they give you a computer.
Wow.
Now that's, yeah. But that's just half the story. Having a computer is just a little box. How, you and I have 20 minutes time difficulty connecting Zoom. This is poor people, think. So I think about these things, and but I think the time will take care of itself. Time will flatten this out, and the internet, if they get into it, will move it faster. So there's two aspects to that. I think the wealth will be created in a manner that is unbelievable, but wealth distribution will take a little bit of more time than otherwise. There was a system of wealth distribution in the capitalistic society, and that has to really be enhanced now, and it will be enhanced. So those are the things that I think about.
So Ashok, since we are on this, it was not, I was planning to ask, but since you touch upon the society is divided. So the term I'm using is a polarization, whether it's a polarization based on the income level or polarization based on the ideology. So we both see the whole world is getting divided. And I personally have witnessed that in especially South America. I was in Colombia last year, and I could clearly see that people are two extremes. And the challenge with that, we both know, is when it's too extreme, there are no dialogues. But coming back to the income and income inequality, do you have some ideas for our audience what you think are possible solutions? I know one solution won't fit.
So I think that the distribution of the tools like computers, like in Houston, I have seen that. and then so that distribution of the tools that are used to 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 disseminate the internet world is one way to do this, and that's definitely the one. Another one is a simple thing is when the schools are there and open normal circumstances, every school in the United States is there already. But across the world, like in Colombia, those tools have to be given. If they're not given, that disparity will grow. So that's one way to do. And then the other thing is that you can do is I have to tell you that I think about this also because I'm not. I know you're an IT guy. I'm not an IT guy. I'm just a crude oil and gas guy.
Yeah, you still run the word, Ashok. Don't say that. You're just an oil and gas guy.
Yeah, if they let me run, the problem is they're not trying to let you run. They're interfering with what they think that going to the oil and gas. They think that oil and gas people are a bunch of weird people running around and ruining the environment. That's not true. Especially, I don't know if you know this or not, the thing that people hate, I'm in exactly that business of oil and gas fracking. That is my business. That's where I make money. And I don't believe that I pump a single ounce of fluid that is not environmentally compatible. We make sure of that. But going back to the IT and divided world, oil and gas had done the same thing. There's a lot of people that work in oil and gas make a lot of money. Those who don't, they don't make a lot of money. So, but that equality has now come. In Houston, people are making good money in the oil and gas towns like Alaska. But I think there must be some tools that are yet to develop that I haven't seen that will be given free to the people. It's like sometimes like the Facebook guy, Mark Zuckerberg, gave an interview in the Senate. They asked him, by Senate buying WhatsApp or whatever they did, did you erase the competition? You completely erase the competition? He said, no, that's not true at all. In fact, after I did that WhatsApp and everything else, the cost of joining those apps are zero. So where is the competition? So it is very interesting comment that he made that the common theme of economic policies and economic concepts are breaking down. So the normal idea is that more people work, more number of jobs are there, and more opportunities are there, and more wealth is being created. That's not true anymore. That policies of now, what is happening in economic policy? No, you can work very smart and create a lot of wealth. We know that. You've done it. A lot of people have done it. So it's a different paradigm. In this paradigm, what we have to do is to create the tools that are absolutely free. So when you're born, this is the way my dream is the following dream. When you're born, on your butt, they will put a little chip. That chip is unique to you and your butt. And that chip is now identifies it, allows you to use some tools, your social security number, it doesn't matter which country you're born. And but it has to be also taken with a lot of safety measure, confidentiality, blah, blah, blah. And these challenge and the opportunities are all together. Simultaneously, they're moving in a direction. If one is falling back, the securities and stuff like that, then the opportunities are lost. Not lost in a meaning forever, but opportunities will be less. So this balance, continuous fight between opportunities and security, but ultimately it has to be given to everybody for $0. Now, who's going to give it? Those who give it, like Facebook said, they gave it, or WhatsApp gave it, whatever they are. I don't know. You know better than I don't. So that system has to be really streamlined.
So Ashok, there are essentially, as you know, the theme of our conference is we are saying the future is now. And in that, we picked three key areas. One is global economy. Second, we picked food. And third, we picked health. And underlying theme is, of course, education. But in reality, if we talk about it, and I completely agree with you, we are product of our environment. You and me are here because we got brilliant education. And we are able to understand, we had systematic thinking, we are able to create systems pretty easily. So I agree with you that these kind of services should be available to us as almost like as our birthright, especially access to education. So other things you and me can debate, but education has to be freely available. And on the same note, if you look at it, organizations like Khan Academy, even YouTube, Coursera, all these multiple organizations have created the entry barriers or the access to education to almost nothing, zero. Even Singularity University has done a brilliant job there. So I think the challenge is not really just the desire to create these infrastructure. The challenge is how do you communicate and how do you share this information with the rest of the world? The word can, TikTok becomes so popular literally overnight, creating those, I'm not against or for TikTok, but why Coursera is not so popular and why YouTube education sections are not so popular. And that is where something for us to think through as an IITian, what can we do so these education or education-based content become very exciting for people to learn. It's almost to the extent that you watch movies, you watch all these comedy shows. Can you be entertained while learning? And you and me both know the learning is very experiential. We study a lot of things in our college days, but how much of that we apply directly? Not so much. We apply a lot of it all the time, but directly, not so much. So the challenge I see is if we take education as we are not able to bring education to a level where it become almost like watching an animation or watching a comedy movie or watching, I don't know, Taylor Swift song or Priyanka's music. So a point I'm trying to make it is the things you are talking about, it is available in some shape and form, but it is not getting either popularized or the contents are still very complex. And if I'm not an expert of it, I can't do it. For example, I'm trying to learn this device cello. There are like million videos on YouTube. And when I start learning, I thought, I'll just pick it and start playing it. What's a big deal with that? I can't even play like 10 seconds, forget about a minute. So in spite of all the education available, it is still very hard to learn. So the problem is I'm saying is the word I'm using is called learning disability. And even I personally have learning disability when it comes to music because I don't understand. I love music, but I don't understand it. So, but I'll be happy to chat with you what we can do, what IITian can do. But a lot of great institutions are doing phenomenal work.
Yeah. I don't know if you have a question or this is just a discourse between you and I. I actually don't believe in learning.
Okay.
Learning is a bad word. Learning is an intellectual word. You can actually learn. So what is learning is subliminal learning is more important than learning with awareness. In other words, it's very important that today, if you go to an African jungle and a kid is running around with his herd, and the same stuff is in South Texas, there's a cowboy running around with his cows and with a hat and goes to drink and everything. What are they learning? I think our concept of learning is we feel like it is structured. It is class 1, class 2, class 3, blah blah blah. I just absolutely don't believe in that anymore. I also don't believe that parents are always lecturing their children about you need to learn. This is absolutely the wrong direction. I think what you need to create an environment of not learning. It's a huge environment. You go to shopping mall, you go to a football this thing, there is always some learning going on. Not learning, but in subliminal absorption of knowledge, continuous. This is very different than quote unquote learning and taking an exam. So society does not have to be based on different kind of structured education. You can have non-structured education as well as, if you really think about this, say 1500, 1600, 1700, 1800, almost to 1900. Tagore never went to school. All those Renaissance Bengal period, none of them went to school. There was no school. Even there was Deysarkar. We tend to talk about Gandhi. We talked about Tagore. We talk about Subhash Bose. But to me, the two people that I really have tremendous admiration in Indian society is Gokhale and Deysarkar. They really created a society of learned people that came after them. But they didn't have to go to college, they didn't go to school. The learning was there everywhere. You know the story how Deysarkar was going from one place to the other, and he learned how to calculate the number in English because of those stones, that was on the street. It is this kind of process of learning, and now that we have internet, process of all these things is tremendous opportunity. Tremendous opportunity. There can be tools everywhere in the market, if they're in the shopping mall, in the sports, some kind of a tool, some kind of little laptops so that people can learn anything they want to do. Or give every kid a free tool to do this. But there comes the discipline. The problem is that they can use that tool to do something else, which is nonsense.
Yep.
But then I say, let them learn nonsense. I don't care. If that's what they want to learn, that's what they learn. So society cannot be very decisiveness to a point is actually the wrong thing to do. And the parents are very decisive because everybody wants their children to do well.
Yeah.
It is the number one barrier to our education, I'll tell you, is the parents. And you know how in India, when you were growing up, you told, I'm not going to study math, I'm going to do this. Are you crazy? I'm going to beat you up. And you better go to IIT Kharagpur, IIT Delhi, or whatever. Otherwise, you're just going to, nobody will marry you. You'll be you know the story.
Yep.
And say, did we do this because we wanted to do it? Did we do this because society wanted us to do this? None of that. All the answers are no.
Yeah.
We did it because our parents wanted to do. So, Sanjiv Goyal would have been a better, I don't know, cello player. I don't know that.
Thank you.
It's very interesting concept, but no parent can let it go. I cannot let it go. I wanted my son to do certain things. Yeah. And your parents, your children, same thing. Yeah. However, there is a way you can create an environment in which this education, quote unquote education or learning, is a lot more available. And people are picking up everywhere. People are picking up everywhere knowledge. And then maybe what they do is that when they're 16 or 17, they go and say which is their adaptation, what they like best attitude, and become an expert in that. And after 5 years, they don't like it. They change it. It is not there. The structure is not there today. It is this that this guy who started a school, what's his name? A huge famous school.
Stanford?
Huh?
Stanford?
What? No. I'm not talking about that kind of school. They're all out of my books completely now. I have no interest in any of those anymore. I'm done with them. I'm talking about this. He's a Muslim guy. What's this called? Khan School of
Academy. Khan Academy.
That is the environment. That's an environment. It is not a tool to learn. It is an environment that is created for people to take whatever they want to do. It is the Khan Academy that billion times is. I'm not looking for Stanford or IIT Kharagpur or IIT Delhi. They're okay. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. So this kind of environment is what going to is cloud learning. This is phenomenal thing. And that kind of stuff that if we can adapt and if we can then a African guy that I was just telling that African kid is taking a herd to they do that. But during that process, they also learn how to maximize that herd's efficiency, take care of the parents, and have a better quality of what is ultimate is a better quality of life. And that is not, we cannot force that definition to people. That is of each of individual people that needs to define their own quality of life, you know. And so it's a philosophical matter, but we are getting there. We're getting there, but that getting there is very slow. While the development of the tools that you and I are using now is rapid. So this rapid development will probably enhance the development of true learning, you know, guru, shishya and all that. You know, when a kid went to this, the guru, the parents, I'm sure, didn't like that, but they thought it was the good thing to do. And that he was molded or she was molded according to that. And it is very interesting that some of these old concepts that we have had in India can have actually significant impact in the future learning, in which I'll tell you that true, great people can be born with quality of, like I told you, a few of them. Gokhale is one of them in my mind. We don't respect. We don't even know. But it is he who created the image of India in which Gandhi was born, in which Tagore was born. It was Gokhale's image that created these people. But we forget Gokhale today. Similarly, in the West, the learning people, you know, it's like Pascal, mathematics. And we talk about Einstein, but I still think that the greatest of the greatest scientists is actually, you know, this Heisenberg. He understood God and philosophy of matter and motion and all. It's very interesting. Was Einstein should be overestimated? I don't know. Underestimated? I don't know that. But it's for sure Heisenberg is underestimated.
So sure.
It is from Heisenberg that he learned Einstein that the two things cannot be in sync with each other. So studying of relativity.
See, we both understand the learning or education, is it linear or non-linear? And we both understand today, there was a time linear learning was okay, but not now. The world has changed, and in the future, it's not possible. So I completely agree. And there are a lot of great initiative. But I have another question for you, which is, I think is one of my favorite questions. I really want to know personally, and I'm sure our audience will love to know. You started with nothing, and you built such a huge, successful organization. What is the secret of your success? Is it curiosity? Is it luck? Or what?
So I'll tell you that I really come from a lower middle class family. And my classmates will tell you that Ashok, when we went to IIT Kharagpur in that house of residence that we stayed for 5-6 years and all that, and today I'm still with them. We still have that group and everything else. So when I went there first, I said, man, I'm screwed. I'm done. I have to get out of this place because I can't take these people that have, I sit here next to me, somebody in MP was number one in this class, and then I wasn't anything like that. I got into it because I couldn't have, my older brother was there already, but he came from a different school system, my grandmother. And from his high school, there are students that got into IIT system 5, 6, 10 years before. Every year they were getting in. So he tried, and my Mashi forced him. He was screwing around, and my Mashi told, no, you have to do this. So, and he was pretty brilliant like you guys, not like me. And then my turn came. My mother said, "Do you want to try this?" I said, "Are you out of your mind? I mean, you lost your mind." And my mother said, "No, I haven't lost my mind." So in our little mining town, there was a guy. His brother-in-law was some kind of engineer, and their house and my house was very close by. So my mother called him, and because when my mother asked my older brother, my older brother flatly told her that this myself doesn't take things seriously, so there's no chance. But my mother called the other guy and told him, "Can you come to my house and evaluate this guy, which is me?" And after he talked to me a few times and all that, he said, "No, maybe he has a chance." I said, "How do you know that?" He said, "You seem to be pretty apt in math and physics." Sure enough, and so other than the language skill, I was actually okay in the first semester in IIT Kharagpur. And then I made up the language skill, and so it's a continuous learning. To answer your question, I'll give you some answer in my life. Continuous learning from your friends. So a friend of mine, Mihir Mohan Pine, he called me only yesterday, and he was my classmate. And he was telling me that I helped him to stay at IIT Kharagpur and not flunk out because I taught him math. What I told him is that you helped me to do spoken English. I was not even good in spoken Bengali because I was from Jharkhand. My languages are all screwed up. And so continuous learning from your friends. So we had 6, 7 friends. One of them was Hussein Mehdi. He was from Nizam family. Deepak Basu, his father was the first heart surgeon in India. Then things like that. Then Pratap Ghorpare, his grandmother was Gayatri Devi, the big Jaipur family. And I learned, and what is interesting is that they actually must say today, they learned more from me than I ever learned from them. I don't believe that. But it is mutual learning from peers is very important. And then some teachers can make a tremendous impact on your life. Like there's a professor called N.K. Rai. He used to stammer. And my son and we put together a chair fellowship at IIT in his name. He was the best teacher possible. And one time he came to Houston, his son was living here, still lives here, but he passed away. He came to my house and he told all these people, Ashok had a way of doing things and talking things. It's not in the book. So that's another thing I will tell you. I don't believe in books. I never believed in books. Just because it's printed, the hell with it. I'm going to think through this and then I'm going to tell you what I think in my mind is the right thing to say. The books are mediocre at best. So I never believed in books. And today, of course, because of the internet, I don't believe in books anymore. So self-learning, continuous learning from your peers, and learning from the environment. If you took together, then when you go to IIT Kharagpur, you learn, hey, my own brother went to University of Toronto to do PhD. What am I going to do? Am I good enough? When the time came, yeah, it was okay. It was no big deal. So I overcome some of these things, but I have to tell you, if I don't say this, it would be dishonest. If you don't have luck, it is an uphill battle. You have to be lucky. But what luck is like is that there's a stream and there's a bunch of fish running. I don't know if you are vegetarian or non-vegetarian, doesn't matter. The fish is running and the fish is not going to get to you. You got to get to the fish. And that is a combination of luck and the number of fish and the number of current, amount of current is all together. Is there, and the timing, the electric people say in the West, time is of essence. And time is of essence. And God is there to help you out if you want to do that. So I say that when I was doing it, I didn't think really I can do a business. In fact, most of those classmates that are still there today, they used to think I will either become an executive with Hindustan Lever, because in that time, I think that they still have the class. In my class, I was number one. After all this struggle, I did become number one in my class. That they will employ you and you become one of those big guy like Gopal Krishnan, the head of Unilever, run the whole world. That's what they thought I was going to do. Or a professor. And I did get that job. But after 3 months, I could not stand it, Sanjiv. And I quit. And I did all these things. So I feel like I have been lucky, and I never ever think in the morning. Every day I will learn something. Every day. It is the most important thing. And learning in many, many ways from people from around all this stuff. So self-learning, continuous learning, luck. But in order to become businessman, you have to have some bad qualities. Let me tell you what they are. You've got to be paranoid. Number one. If you are not paranoid, you can't be a businessman. You have to be paranoid. And that's extremely important. And if you think money is the reason you're doing business, that's complete wrong. No, that's not what it is. It's you want to achieve something. And you want to achieve something and create some employment for people. And that's extremely, so those are the kind of combination that I think about. I am extremely, I'm kind of a little bit lazy on the lazy side, even after all these things. Yes, seriously. And Mickey, a friend of mine who was my chief operating officer, he had to retire because of his health. And he will tell you, Asoke is going to think 100 hours how not to work and still create the wealth. And my wife is on the other hand, she's going to work to create the wealth. So in our scripture, these people are categorized in a karma yogi, is my wife. I'm a non-karma yogi, if there's such a thing. But I think a lot of this effect, that effect, cascading effect, all this kind of stuff. I think all the time. But I am paranoid in my mind that, in oil and gas business, if you're not paranoid, you must be crazy.
Ashok, it's just very interesting and resonate with me. Being an entrepreneur, I can relate to a lot of the things. And growing up, how we got here, all of those things. But that's for some other day. So big thing I learned in last few minutes from you is passion for learning is so important that it can literally define you as a person, and it can define the communities and overall the world. That's one thing I learned from you in last few minutes. Second thing I learned from you is think non-linear, think in a systematic fashion, think in a process where you can do things non-linearly. So instead of being always in execution mode, because if you are in execution mode, you may miss out the most important opportunities come your way. And the third thing I learned from you is when people talk about luck. So luck to me, and that's my definition, you didn't say it, but I'm assuming that's the right definition. Luck is when opportunity meets preparation. By learning, you understand what you should or shouldn't be doing. And when the opportunity comes, you are ready, you are prepared. Correct me if I'm wrong about these three key learnings from today's conversation.
Let me tell you about luck. Luck is godliness. What it is that in the Christian community, there is this continuous conflict of creationist and, did you create this or it is not created? So this in the church, there is a conflict going on. I actually see one is linear and another is non-linear. But linearity, when a lot of linear stuff converge, then it turns into a creation. That creation is completely non-linear. But they came from linearity in which many chemistry reactions, all these reactions are taking place, blah, 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 and boom, one reaction that took place out of this many linear reaction created creation.
Nice.
So in my world of, in Christian, I'm not Christian, I'm Hindu. But in Christianity, this conflict is not necessary, actually. They're one and the same thing. But they refuse. The one side is linear, the other side is non-linear. The creation is like Jesus Christ creation. That's a non-linear thing. And the everyday church is linear thing, And so I said, and in our scripture, it is everywhere, non-linearity. Non-linearity is everywhere. So when Krishna was telling Arjuna the lecture, and that is complete non-linear. And it is not everybody can accept that, adapt that, and use that. But Yudhishthira and Krishna, mainly these two adopted it and used it to, So this is everywhere. Linearity and non-linearity of learning is super important. And what I'm telling you is that, going back to your first thing, this internet has become a true non-linear mode of, you never know what you can learn. You never know what you can learn. It's up to you, not up to anyone else. Anybody comes and gives me a big lecture on this nowadays. First thing I do, right in time, I open this little iPhone and I open it up and I get a pretty good idea of what he's talking about, what she's talking about. And I learned real quickly. And that's why I'm saying every day must learn something. When non-linearity comes, you don't know. You don't know.
Ashok, I can continue to talk to you for hours. This is such an interesting conversation. I really love it. So the big lesson for me personally is, and I hope it's for our audience, which are mostly entrepreneurs, is have an hunger for learning, have curiosity to solve some problems. Because when you have curiosity, you're able to put some structure around it, and your learning can be exponential or non-linear. Ashok, thank you very much for joining us today.
I'll tell you something that before you go, don't do anything if you don't enjoy it.
Passion.
Don't do it.
Passion.
Yeah. Don't do anything that if you don't enjoy it. Every minute that I went to IIT Kharagpur, I could not believe that I learned all this stuff, and I enjoyed it so much that final few exams, it's just piece of cake. So enjoy, and don't hurt other people in that. Okay?
Not in someone else's expenses.
Not in someone else's. You can actually, at the addition of somebody else, you can help them while you're enjoying it.
Thank you. Thank you. No, this means a lot to me personally. So I'm Sanjiv Goyal, conference chair of IIT2020.org, Pan IIT USA's mega virtual event. Join us, co-invent and co-define paradigms for this new world. Please register at IIT2020.org. Our event is open to all. Thank you once again, Ashok. Thank you very much for your time.